Welcome, everybody. We're back on track, back online. Kuf Chafer with Beis Maseches Shabbos Kodesh. We are learning about Muktzeh, so many practical things we're going to learn about today. And we're bang in the middle of the sugya that discusses how can you make something that is not Muktzeh, something that is potentially Muktzeh, how can you make it non-Muktzeh? Let's call it demuktzify, something that was let's say stone, which is a muktzeh machmas gufoy, the worst form of muktzeh machmas gufoy. How would that turn into a kli? You have to do something before Shabbos. So we had a machloikis before. We had a machloikis between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, in the words of Rabbi Yochanan, about a barrel, about a cover of a barrel. You have a stone, and that stone you placed on a barrel, on a wine barrel before Shabbos, in order to make the stone into a kli, into a lid, a cover. Does that work? So the first opinion, Rabbi Ami says no. Rabbi Ami says that if all you did was placing the stone on the chavis without changing the shape or doing something more severe, more significant, it's not going to help. And really, it remains muktzeh. And you're just being bigger trouble of bosses and you can't move the barrel. Now, the other opinion is Rabbi Asi, which is more lenient. Rabbi Asi says you don't have to do a maaseh. All you need to do is just place the stone on the barrel as a lid, and that's good enough. Now, the Ritva says that it's not you don't need any maaseh according to Rav Asi. You need a maaseh kal, a maaseh koldehu, and that sounds like that from Rashi too, because placing the Evan on the chavis is doing something. I did take the Evan. I didn't just think about it or designate it in my, I don't know, in my speech or my thought. I did something by placing it on the chavis. That's enough. While Rabbi Ami would require something stronger. Now, a stronger ma'aseh to make it into a non-muktzeh. And now we're going to say a story that basically exemplifies what we just said. Let's see the story here. We are in Kuf Taf Hey Amud Beis. Okay. The Azdu L'Ta'amayhu. Rabbi Amin Rabasi, each one follows his own reasoning. Each one is consistent L'Ta'amayhu with the statement they made regarding a certain story. The also Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Omar Rav Chanina, he quotes Rabbi Chanina. The Amri la'Omar Rabbi Zera Rabbi Chanina. Some say that Rabbi Zera quoted Rabbi Chanina. Everyone believes this is Rabbi Chanina talking, and they say, "Pam achas solach Rebbe l'mokom echad." Once upon a time, Rebbe HaKodesh, he went somewhere, a forest, a field, somewhere out of town, out of city. Umotza nidbach shel avonim. He found some stones lying there, stones lying on the ground. And nidbach is usually avonim, stones or bricks that are, let's even stones that are meant set aside to be built with for building. Romer Talmida, he told his Talmidim, his plan was to use those stones tomorrow, meaning on Shabbos, that on Shabbos the following day, they will use those stones and sit on them while they listen to the shiur. And he told his Talmidim, we have those stones, they're muktzeh, how do we make them non-muktzeh? So he told them, Tz'u v'chishvu kedei sheneshev alein lemocho. Go out, go to the field, go to the location of those stones, and chishvu, have in mind, think in your mind, we want to sit on those stones tomorrow. So this is the first opinion. The first opinion is not Rabbi Ami nor Rabbi Asi. The first opinion is Rabbi Chanina. By the way, Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi argued on Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chanina is a different opinion, which we just saw now. What does Rabbi Chanina hold? Rabbi Chanina says you don't really need to do anything in order to demuktify. You just have to think. Now, why did Rabbi tell them go out to the field and have it in mind. Can't you do it by remote control, far away, Wi-Fi? Apparently not. Again, I'm not saying halacha here, but the Ritva says when you want to think about a stone on Friday, I want to use that stone on Shabbos, then you have to have the stone in front of you. Yeah? What's close to the eye is close to the heart. You have to have in mind that stone right over here. I want to get that stone and use it for whichever purpose I want on Shabbos. Now, one other very interesting point the Ritva makes over here, the Ritva says, why do they have to unmuktzify it anyways? At the end of the day, all they need to do is just sit on the stone. Even if the stone is muktzeh, there's no problem to sit on a muktzeh as long as you don't move it. Those stones were heavy and big, and if those stones were not to be moved and just to be set upon, then you don't need to do anything. Yeah, if let's say you have some kind of muktzah and you sit in it without moving it, that's not a problem. A car may be a problem. I'm not sure. There's a discussion because you move it a little bit. But other than that, you can sit in a muktzah. So therefore, says the Ritzvah, they wanted to move the stones on Shabbos. They wanted to rearrange them on Shabbos. That's why he told them, think about it, have a machshava kavana to make it non-muktzah, to make it your chair, and then you'll even be able to move the chair. But this opinion is neither Rabbi Ami nor Rabbi Asi, because that requires zero action. Now, the second opinion is Rabbi Yochanan. Remember, I told you to remember the names. Rabbi Asi and Rabbi Ami both argue about what Rabbi Yochanan holds, which means, let's follow through. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Itzrichan Rabbi Lamaise. Yes, Rabbi Yochanan argues and said, no, Rabbi demanded of his Talmidim that they should do something with those stones in order to make them, non-muktzah, to make them muchan. My Omar lehu. What did he tell them to do? Rabbi Ami Omar tzu v'lamdum Omar lehu. Oh, here we have two explanations. Says Rabbi Ami, he told them that on Friday, you know what you have to do? Sadru oisam v'oshivum. In other words, I want you to arrange them now on Friday, the desired way. Let's say those stones are in the field, scattered all over, or whatever, or maybe dafka in one pile, if it was meant for building. I want you to arrange the stones now. Why? One of two reasons. Rashi said, as I told you yesterday, because Rabbi Ami, remember, is machmir. Rabbi Ami says you really have to do a real ma'aseh to change the stone in order to make it non-muktzeh. Those chairs, there's nothing they can do. What will they do? They'd start shaping it up, painting it. Nothing real was there that could be done. In other words, any normal ma'aseh, there's too much for them to do. So he said, en chinami, those stones will stay muktzeh because we require very strong and big ma'aseh, which we can't do now. This is Yeshiva Bochim on Friday. They're not going to start carving out a piece of art, and therefore, en chinami, we're stuck. Those stones will remain muktzeh, so now you have to rearrange them because tomorrow you won't be able to sit on them. Another opinion, the Rishonim, I think the Meiri, I didn't see it inside, the Meiri says that to lamdum is a strong ma'aseh. To change, to make them, to move them and place them exactly where you want, that's very interesting. I don't know why. I just saw it quoted, I have to admit, in the deal shoe. I didn't see it inside, but that's, I don't know. But Lamaisa, all Rishonim agree, Rabbi Ami requires a real strong Maisa. Maybe moving the stone to the right place, the right location is something more significant. Whatever. More than placing the stone on the barrel, tzarchiyun. But Lamaisa, the idea is one. Rabbi Ami requires a strong Maisa. Ma she'ein ken Rabbi As. And therefore Rabbi Ami said what? When it comes to the stone on the barrel, when you just plunk the stone on the barrel, that's not choshuv. It's not like changing location. It's not like doing something choshuv. You took the same stone, dirt and all, put it on the barrel. That's not called a ma'aseh choshuv. It's a ma'aseh koldehu, as the Rishonim say. Yeah, ma'aseh koton, and it does not demuktify it. Rabbi Asi, on the other hand, Rabbi Asi Omar, tz'u v'shavshefum Omar lehu. Rabbi Asi said, no, all you need to do, said Rabbi to his Talmidim, all you have to do is just clean it a little bit from the dust. Something which I would call in English symbolic. You need to just, rub it, just, clear the dust, and life is good. And then you can move them. Wow. And you can move them, but just clearing the dust. You call that a maisa? Yes, but a very minimal one. So too, if you just take the stone and put it on the chavis, that too is considered to be a maisa which is good enough. There is Rishonim, some Rishonim do discuss, like Toisves, they say that putting on the chavis is even less. Because when you put the stone on the chavis, you didn't change it at all. You just used it once. You didn't do any change, not even cleaning, but it's still on the lenient side. It's for the Toisves, it's still very lenient. You do something minimal. That's all you need to do. That's Rabbi Asi. Itmar, okay? Now we are in Itmar. Line starts with the word Rabbi Yossi ben Shaul. Welcome, welcome. Rabbi Yossi ben Shaul Omar. We're still talking about the same story of who? Rabbi, who told his Talmidim. And so far, how many opinions did we have? Let's summarize what we saw till now. Rabbi Chanina said he did not require any Maisa. They just have to think, this stone will be my chair for tomorrow. Life is good. Tomorrow you can move it around. You don't have to do anything. Now, Rabbi Yochanan required a Maisa, and Rabbi Ami and Rabasi argue within the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan how strong and big does a Maisa have to be, right? Rabbi Ami requires a real Maisa, and Rabbi Asi said even a minimal Maisa of just cleaning the dust, something symbolic and small. That's all. Now comes another, I wouldn't call it another opinion. We're talking about another reality. There's a machlokes about what were those things that they wanted to sit on. Up until now, we were very consistent, at least about that. We said stones, stones, stones. They say here come other opinion. Let me just change the screen over here. Once I don't like the way it is. Yeah, here comes another opinion. Rabbi Yossi ben Shaul Itma. Rabbi Yossi ben Shaul Omar Savar shel koiros hava. Savar shel koiros is basically, or the Ritva has the word savar. It is basically seder shel koiros chadosh shel binyan, which means you had a nice pile of straight koiros beams meant for binyan, for building, right? It's more like something that you're designating already in your mind for building, and they wanted to change that and use that for sitting, okay? And now he told them, you have to do whatever you have to do. You have to think or change or do something in order to change it from savar shel koros, which is something meant for building, into something to sit on. Soon we'll see what's the chiddush here. You'll get there soon. Rabbi Yochanan ben Shaul Omar gishush shel sfina hava. Rabbi Yochanan ben Shaul says, I don't know if they were brothers or not. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan ben Shaul says gishush shel sfina hava. Gishush shel sfina. We met that item in Daf Kuf, I think, at the end of 11th parak. Basically, the boats, when a boat or ship is sailing, there is some kind of stick that they put in the ground in the seabed to feel whether they're about to reach the ground, and that has to be a very sensitive, very sensitive kind of how do you call it, stick. In other words, that stick has to be, I guess, shaped a certain way, treated a certain way, so you can basically know exactly where you are vis-a-vis the seabed. You don't get stuck in seabed. That's how you navigate with that all-time ways. So that Geshush shel Sfina, that's what was sitting there in the field, and that's what they wanted to change into chairs. What's the issue over here? I think you can feel already the Inyan. Let's see how the Gemara ends up, and then we'll get the mystery solved. Mandomer Gishush Kol Sheken Savar, which means, okay, I'll tell already now. The cat's out of the bag. You tell me, guys, when you have something that's so sensitive, what kind of muktzeh is it? Chesron kis. Oh, that's all different kettle of fish. When you have stone. What's a stone? Stam. Machmas gufay, right? Oh, here we have a machlokes that when you have something which is even kli, which is muktzeh machmas chesron kis, maybe there too, you need to actually make a maisa in order to demuktzify it, and it works. But it's a chiddush. So now, mandamar gishush kol sheken savar, which means a gishush is more sensitive to savar. Savar, I stressed, b'shem Rashi, is straight and has to stay straight for the building, right? and he wanted it to stay straight. He wanted the building to be straight. You don't want the Pisa Tower. And therefore what? And yet we say, Man de Omar Gishush, he says, if that unmuktifying works for Gishush, Holshek, it works for Saval. Yeah, because if for Gishush we say that once you do some, let's pick the opinion that says minimal Maisa. And minimal Maisa is good to undo your original thought of Muktzeh Kis, Holshek and Saval, because Saval is even more sensitive. Again, one would argue and say, listen, Stam is stone, of course. I'm changing the stone into whatever I want, like that. But Muktzeh Kis, maybe Memachshava, maybe not. Remember, we had the same story in the B'mei Toimnin about covering with fancy clothes. Maybe you're not really honest. You're going to use it back afterwards for what? Machmas Cheson Kis. So you're not really honest but changing the status. Maybe it's really muktzah deep down in your heart. That's a shaila. It's much harder to change from that. And therefore, so now, says the Gemara, Mandomar Savar, Aval Gishush Kapidale. Mandomar Savar would say, no. This Savar, which is for building, people are makpid, but not super makpid, and therefore, once you change it one way or the other, we believe it's a real change. From now, that's just your chair. But Mandomar Gishush Kapidale. No Mandomar, but the same Mandomar would say, a Gishush is too much. A gishush, which is something, sensitive, like a radar. It's a navigating pole to make sure you have the right, exactly the right measurement, the depth in the sea. You're much more makpid. And even if you make a maisa, it's not going to work. And you can't change a muktzeh machmas chesron kis just by such a small maisa. Look at Rashi, kapi dalei, shelo akem. It's makpid that it shouldn't go, shouldn't get bent. Umiyachid leimokoim. Again, what's the definition of muktzeh machmas chesron kis? It's not something expensive like everybody thinks. What is it? It's something that you set a place aside. You set it aside. Umaktzele beyadayim. You, with your own hands, you actually remove it from your usage. That's machmas chesron kis. Klisha malachto le'iso, for example, which is not mentioned here. Some I'm saying muktzeh machmas chesron kis. You use it for banging, for shmenging. You're not so makpid. And that's why you're allowed to use it for many things, even on Shabbos. Muktzeh machmas chesron kis is something which usually most muktzeh machmas chesron kis of the Gemara, if you noticed, are working tools that are expensive or need very sensitive, a high level of sensitivity. Remember, the hammer of the perfume makers has to be very, very, stay very, very clean. So you maintain the sensitivity for the smell, things like that. That's muktzeh machmas chesron kis. Yeah. Because the mamish set it aside, nobody's allowed to touch it. It's true also about expensive things, by the way. They do say it la halacha. It is mentioned, but that's not the begin. That's not the whole picture. Let's put it this way. Seder? Not necessarily. No, not true. Let's say the person is lying to himself, and he says to everybody, "Okay, everyone, I'm giving up on using this machmas chesron kis. I will not build a building with it. I'm not going to go sail in my boat, and now I'm going to use it as a chair." But when the child starts bending in too much, he starts going crazy and shout at the child, right? Why? Because really in his mind, he's not really mevatali to the new usage. He's not really honest. That's a chashash. And therefore, people sit on it, but he tells everyone, be careful, right? It's not so simple that you really are undoing the original machshava of muktzeh. It's a shayla. This is not a halacha shiur, but that's the kivun. That's the direction. Okay, it's not simple. Just because, and by the way, no, and it's actually what you're saying. What you're saying is there is such an opinion in Daf Nun, which is not mentioned here. I prefer not to talk about it because I'm going to get all over the place. Lamaisa, there is an opinion over there that says that sitting on it before Shabbos, just using it once is good enough. Not necessarily about machmas stones. If you used it once, it's good enough. But that opinion is not brought down over here. Here we have other opinions, either to machshava or maisa of changing it, doing something with it.
The maisa changing was just arranging. Right?
Oh, according to Zamir Shani, that's called a maisa. But no, the other opinion would change, just sitting would also be enough, just to use it once. It's a different thing. It's interesting. I'm not doing anything with it. I'm just using it first time. I'm inaugurating it. That's not mentioned here. Yeah, weiter. Zmoyo shikshua. The second case of the Mishnah was Zmora is a what? The branch of the vine. That branch of the vine. Let's go up and look at the Mishnah. By the way, these are the first words of the page. So easy to detect. Zmoir shikshur b'tafiach mimalin ba b'Shabbos. What does that mean in simple English? Zmoiro. You have the twig, long twig of the branch of the vine, and it's tied to a bucket, yeah, some kind of small bucket, small jug, and you're allowed to draw. This is basically like the stick that's holding the jug, okay? And because it's tied to the jug, you're allowed to use it on Shabbos. In other words, again, I want to ask you, a regular branch you picked up from the street, what is it? What kind of muktzeh? Gufoy, machmas gufoy. Now you tied it. Oh, mazel tov, shidduch. You tied it to the. That's a ma'isa. That's a ma'isa. That's nice. Everyone would agree to that, right? It's a ma'isa. You tied it to the bucket. Now it became the bucket holder. An ayazach bucket holder. Get it online from Alibaba. I don't know yet what it's a bucket holder. That bucket holder became mutter to use. Now you can draw the water. Just make sure there's no issue of eruv, right? All is good. Oh, as always, things are not so simple. Okay. Zog the Gemara is medayik, kshuro in, loy kshuro, loy. When it's tied, you're allowed to use it, but let's say it wasn't tied. Let's say that Zmora was just, somehow attached, but without mamish being tied to the bucket, then you're not allowed to use it. Okay, Rashi points out, let's say that this Zmoira is your perfect Zmoira. I want to read Rashi again inside the last narrow line. ואפילו יש הקמומיס בראש שכאין מזלג, כאוי little בספתפיח, ולמעלס, וכי שווה. Says Rashi like this. Let's say that Zmora, whoa, is your perfect Zmora. You know that the Zmoras, they're a little bit bent, right? They're like curly. Let's say that Zmora is your dream Zmora. It has like a little fork-like end, which is perfect for your bucket. So it's just a shidduch. I don't need to tie it. It just hooks very nicely. Yeah, new design, 2025. And I thought that I want to use it. Not good. The Mishnah is so stark, requires maisa, right? Kshura, yes. Not kshura, no. Machmir, bnei brak. You only, davka to do the kshura, and if it's not kshura, then no, right? Zog the Gemara, okay. Lema mesnisin, the lokab Shimon Gamliel. Looks like this Mishnah is not following the opinion of Shimon Gamliel. We're going to see now a similar machlokes to before. The Tanya, Charius Shel Dekel. These are the branches of the palm tree. Shegodron, what's godron? How do you call it when you pick the palms? Or the palm leaves, it's called ligdo. You cut the branches of the dekel from before Shabbos. Le'etzim, meaning your original purpose was firewood. You want to feed the fire and fuel the fire. It says Rashi Chotchon Lehesek. The Nimlach Alein he changed his mind at some point on Thursday or Friday. Leyeshiva. Now we're saying, you said no. These are so nice. I need a sitting place on Shabbos. His couch and his sofa, I don't know what happened to them. Sorry for the break again. Okay. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel oimer ein tzorich likshor. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says no, ein tzorich likshor. You don't have to tie. All you have to do is think, and that's all. So what do you see? Our Mishnah basically supports who? Supports the opinion, not Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Yeah, you do have to tie. Whatever happens, I don't care about your thoughts or the conditions. You have to mamish make a ma'isa, do a ma'isa to unmuktzify. Similar machlokes to before. Omar of Sheshes says of Sheshes, no, our Mishnah is not against Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Why? Afilu tema of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, even according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that usually does not require tying. Oh, let me explain. Mechuberes be'aviyah means we're talking over here, unbelievably, about a geffen, about a branch of the vine, which is still connected to the vine. Wow. Connected to the vine is much, much, much worse than a bunch of charyos, a bunch of branches that are already disconnected, and all you have to do is tie them. According to Rashbag, you don't have to tie them. Why? The Ritva says something mechuber to the karka is not a kli. As we said a billion times in all over Shas, mechuber lekarka is is antithesis of a kli. Right? The kli is disconnected. You want to take something connected to the ground and call that a kli? Of course, you have to do a very physical maisa of kshira to the deli, to the bucket, in order to make it considered a kli. Mashenkin, something disconnected, it's all about usage A, usage B, to burn, to sit. That's all right, says Rashbag, you don't have to do a maisa. But to take a maisa mechuba lekarka and make it into a kli, of course you have to tie. Okay, that's all very nice. Are you telling me that I'm actually using a branch on Shabbos? If so, something very strange is happening here. Question mark. You are using something that's connected to the ground. And we have a Mishnah in Maseches Beis Adaf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, which we all know, even if we don't know the Mishnah, we all know the ramification of the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? You're not allowed to ride an animal. You're not allowed to do what? You're not allowed to use to climb a tree or use a tree. You use a tree, you climb on it, you use it. Let alone if you actually use the branch, what's going to happen? You're going to crack and break the branch, right? And here, especially the Rishonim say, of course you're going to crack it because you want to use it. So how can you use that? It's not even mitzad muktzeh. There's an isser, which is isser d'rabanan, a told of toilish, not to use any trees. Answers the Gemara, lemata, yeah, lemata mi gimel, lemata mi gimel, which means as long as the branch itself begins to grow from the stem within 3 tfachim from the ground, you're allowed to use it on Shabbos. Says Mufurash, the Mishnah in Eruvin, and Rashi says why? Why? Because we all know about the concept of lovud. Very, very good Akiva. And therefore, when anything that's within 3 to the ground is not the tree, it's a ground. I can't use the tree, but anything that's so close to the ground is not called the tree, it's called the ground. It's still samuch lekarka. We saw it many times, it's so when something you throw it within 3 to the ground, it's the ground already. And therefore, the gzela of using the branches, the trees, the twigs, call them whatever you want, does not apply within 3. And here we're talking within 3. How can you use it then to take your water? Says Rashi, very nice. We're talking here about a branch that's like, lying on the ground. And the bucket, you want to use it in order to draw water from a river or a well that's ground level. Very good. You're basically going like this, and you draw all within 3 tefachim to the ground. And that's why, because it's connected to the ground, even Rashbag would agree that, of course, it has to be something that's tied, otherwise it's part of the karka, and it's not considered a kli. Ravashi says a different answer. Which means, says Ravashi, another way to answer the contradiction between this and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. What did Rabbi Shimon Gamliel say? Remember, what was his kula? You have a bunch of branches that are meant for burning. They're going to end their life very soon. They're meant to be in the fire. True? Now that's okay. You don't have to tie. Just think, and the world is yours. And here we see, no. You have to actually tie to the end of the stick, and then it's going to work. Why? Says Rav Ashi, very, very simple. Even if you say that this Zemora is disconnected, tlusha, it's not part of the ground or the tree, Gzera Shema Yiktoim. What's Gzera Shema Yiktoim? Over here, the size makes a big difference, right? Gzera Shema Yiktoim means we know that a person who's using a kli, especially a leash, especially a holder, right? A stick that's there, a handle, it's very important the size. Imagine yourself, you have a spoon, a plastic spoon that's very, very big. Yeah? the handle is very, very big. Plastic, what do you do? Or wood, cut it to size. Very tempting. And therefore, here there's a gzera, you'll find it to be too long, and then you'll cut it. You'll cut it to size. That's mechatech. It's usher. Over there, why should I need anything, right? Why should I need anything besides, why should I need tying? Over here, there's a chashash that if you don't tie it, there's a chashash, says Rashi, l'mocher te'elo aruka v'iktemena, mitoch shiraka v'noichel iktoim, v'nim tzoy sekli v'cham shumake bepatish. I'm sorry, Rashi doesn't say mechatech. Rashi says make bepatish. I do believe there could be also mechatech. I don't remember if I saw it or maybe it's my mistake. I apologize. But Rashi says that if I cut it to size, that's make bepatish. But b'charis l'shiva legli migzar hachi. B'charis l'shiva, there's no such chashash. When you tie it to the kli, yeah, then there's no chashash. You're going to come to cut it to size. Yeah, you already see it as one kli. That's the way it is. If you don't tie it, especially Rashi explains lemocho, which means, let's say right now that long what's his name zmora is just the right size, beautiful. But if you don't tie it to this dli, what are you going to do tomorrow? Tomorrow you'll tie it to a differently or different usage or different something. Maybe the shidduch tomorrow is not going to work. Maybe whichever tying or other usage is not going to work for you tomorrow, and you'll cut it to size. Therefore, if you have it kavua, this bucket and this handle, you see it as a shidduch. That's why it is already. There's less chashash you're going to come to cut it, and that's why there's no. That's why it's okay. Yeah, Mashenkin over there's no such chashash b'chlal. You're not trying to do anything. It was firewood. You tie, now you want to sit in it. Here, when you want to adjust it to different kalim, today it's in this kli, tomorrow another kli. Maybe tomorrow it's not going to fit nicely, they're going to come to cut it. That's a chashash. Back to the Mishnah, and then down to the Gemara. I'm going up the page. Says the Mishnah, Pkaka Chalon, Rabbi Lezer Oimer Bizmanshu Kosher V'Tole Pokikin Boy, Bimlav Pokikin Boy, which means we're talking here about a concern of boine. You have a window. The window, it has a shutter. That shutter, that tris is what? A piece of, say, wood that's exactly the same size as the window, and you put it in and out, yeah, put it on and off as you wish. Now, normally, or according to Rabbi Lezer, if you want to avoid chash of binyan, at least with the Rabbanon, yeah, because when you shut it, it's a new binyan. But if that chalon, if that piece of wood is kosher, vetolui, which means if it's tied to the wall and it's hanging above ground level, it's hanging on the wall. Yeah, the bottom of it doesn't reach the, yeah, maybe just about reaches the floor. It's not dragged on the floor. That's considered kosher vetolui. Then it's like a regular shutter, like today's window. It's part of the window frame. You shut it on and off. Doesn't look like a new building. The imlav ain't booking in boy. But if it's missing, I assume, any of the conditions, right? Let's say it is completely on the ground, disconnected, and every time you put it on and off, it's a completely separate item. That's at least with the Rabbanon bone, because it's like a new creation every time. Or even if it's kosher, but it's dragging on the floor, it's too far, too like a new thing because it's already on the floor. And when you re-shut it on Shabbos, it's midarabanan, possibly bone, according to Rabbi Lezer. The Chachamim say no, either way. The Gemara will discuss soon what's called either way. But Chachamim, up to a certain point, allow both ways. You're allowed to lifkok, to stuff, to wedge the window with that, even if it's disconnected. We're going to see how far disconnected. Zog the Gemara, Pkaka Chalon. Amar Bar Babachan Amar B'Yechonon. This is a very, 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 very assorted Gemara for Siman Shin Tes Vav in Shulchan Aruch. Hakol Moedim. Both Rabbi Lezer and Chachamim both admit, both agree, she'en osinol arei betchila b'yom tov ve'en tzech lomer b'Shabbos. Let me explain. There's a concept in Shabbos called oil keva, and there's oil arai. Oil keva is an oil. Let's say you have 4 posts or 4 walls. You want to put on top of them some kind of cover to protect yourself from the elements, sun, wind, whatever, yeah, rain. If it's placed there for a long time, how do you know it's a long time? I saw in Orchos Shabbos, I went all the way there, it says Kama Yomim, a few days. I saw in the Mishnah Brura, some say if it's for a few days and you tie it, you don't just place it, you tie it to the house, yeah, like with azikonim, yeah, then it's called oil keva. And that's an Issa D'Oraisa. Yeah? Oil arai is an oil that doesn't have the azikonim, doesn't have ties, it's just resting on top, and it's only for a few days. It's less than for a few days. I don't know if it's 1 day, 2 days, I don't know how much, but it's for a short period of time, yeah, and it doesn't have the time, right? So now, okay. Hakol moedim she'eno tenola b'tchila b'yom tov ve'en tzorich lomar b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to make a new oil arai on Yom Tov and let alone Shabbos. Shabbos is always more chomor. Everyone agrees it's also to place a canopy, an awning on your empty merpeset, roofless merpeset, that's also in Yom Tov and Kol Sheken Shabbos. Lo nechleku elo lehoisif. The mechloekes is about adding to an existing oil arai. Shablezer oimer ein musifin b'yom tov ve'etzach loma b'Shabbos, v'chacham musifin b'Shabbos ve'etzach loma b'yom tov. Let me explain. We have to finish now. Basically, everyone agrees. Machlokes are showing him here. Both Rashi and Tosfos, everyone agrees. Mufurish Gemara and Eruvin, and that's by the way why we have baby buggies today that are allowed. Let's say you already have a tefach open of the. Let's say you have a merpeset of 10 meters. Yeah, you already have the cover, the berzent, the awning, the whatever you have there, the cloth, is 1 tefach open, 1 tefach is significant. You, according to Chacham, you're allowed to continue and add to that oil arai. Okay? Rabbi Lezer said you're not allowed to add to the oil arai. It's machlokes. What is that to do with us in our Mishnah? Well, it seems to be similar. Rabbi Lezer said you can't add the window to the wall, and Chachamim say you can. Now Rashi says that oil only applies to the top, not to the sides. So why does our Mishnah deal with the side wall? Says some Rishonim say in Chnami that this window is not by the window. This window is not by the wall. It's a skylight. It's in the roof, and that's why it's an issue. You're adding to an all arai. Or Rashi says pashut. A building. We're talking about a building. A building is not arai. A building is for life. The building can be 1,000 years. Because in our Mishnah it's a building, that's Rabbi Lezer said it's not arai, but it is adding to an oil keva from the side. And it's also, and Chachamim allow even that. We'll see more on that tomorrow, Mr. Hashem. Okay? The keva, no. You see not. According to Chachamim, even keva to add is not. Why? Because side is not called oil. You're adding arai to a keva, right? It's not really building. It's really a window, and you can do it 10 times a day. It's not really the oraisa. It's all the rabbanon, right? Now we say if you add to the oil arai, it's according to Blazer a problem. According to Chachamim, it's not a problem. And according to Rashi, a wall is not oil if it would be arai. But if it's keva, then we have the issue. Then we have the same machlokes. Either again, the gag in halach is always worse than the walls. A gag is an issue, according to Blazer, even if you're adding to a gag arai. A side arai is nothing. A side, but a side which is kavua is like the top that's arai. That's a pshat according to Rashi. Rabbi Lezer would not allow you in both. I mean, very superficial. There are many exceptions for tznius, for this, for that, but that's in general. Tomorrow we'll see this whole issue. This whole issue of oil is going to be tomorrow's topic. Tomorrow there is shiur. Tomorrow is what? Tuesday. Wednesday, I think I can give shiur Wednesday, not Thursday. Nothing to do with because Thursday we have a party. Okay, Muktzeh Shabbos Sunday, I don't know. Hey, you tell me if you can. I don't know. I want to hear your vote. You think you'll be here on Hanukkah? Generally? No? Yes? No? We don't know, maybe. Okay. Take your vote. Beseder will vote. Atzlachu Avrocha, thank you very much. Thank you to Torah Anytime. Thank you to our YouTube viewers and to Ma'avoles, to everybody who came here today. Refuah Shleima to those who stayed home. Kol Tuv.